Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another Sunday night live show here in the potting shed. Hopefully, everything is working okay because I'm having a lot of troubles with internet connection at the moment. If you're out there, let me know and what you're doing, what you're up to. Leave a comment, and hopefully, we'll muddle through this tonight. So what have we got coming up? Well, we're going to be chatting, of course, about Grow Your Own and what we've been up to over this last week, which question I always ask at the beginning, what have you been up to? What else have we got? Well, that's the usual sort of thing tonight, isn't it? What we always do. Should say I'm also streaming live on YouTube at the same time as a slightly different aspect. Just thought I'll give that a go after watching somebody else who has had great success doing through Facebook and YouTube this week. So what have I been up to this week? Well, Mr. Fox has returned to my garden and we have lost some of our beloved quail through that, which is a real shame. Really annoying, but it does happen. But we've got to scare off Mr. Fox. What else has been happening? We have been out sowing lots more seeds, getting those growing so we can have plenty of food growing over the winter. What have we sown? We have sown, we planted some shallots today out on the allotment. I'm going to be talking about that on the podcast this week, which is one of my favourite things to grow, actually, shallots and onions. So easy to grow, yet so tasty and used so much in many recipes. And what else have we got? We have I was trying to think what seeds have I sown. My mind's gone blank. I should have written it all down before I came on here tonight. Well, let's have a quick look at the comments and see, because I can see there's people commenting over, certainly on Facebook. I don't know about YouTube just yet. So Stephen Tysehurst out there, he is saying good evening, cooking tea while listening. Good evening to you. Ed Loud is doing his Eve goodnings and what have you. Lovely to see you, Ed. Was a bit worried about you last week. And Stuart Jackson, evening Richard, hope you are well. I'm very well, Stuart, and I hope you are well too. Now, I'm going to throw this out there. Let me know what you guys have been up to in your own allotments or gardens, and what you've been doing in your own plots. It's be interesting to find out. Ed Loud, YouTube as well. That's good. I use Facebook for this. Do you get the live chat from YouTube as well, Richard? That's what I want to find out, Ed. Yes, it is working. I've just seen a comment from Digwell Green Fingers. Hi, love onions, etc. Yes, easy to grow until right what sets in. That's completely right. Lovely to see you, Digwell Green Fingers. So yes, YouTube is working and we can see the chat going on there. But you are right. Yeah, white rot, particularly nasty fungus, I think it is, that affects onions and shallots. And if you get it, you can't use that area for something like 20 years after you get it. Ian Suggett is out there. Hello, Dad. Hope you're well. Good evening. Still harvesting tom-toms. How much are you harvesting each week? Good question, actually. I've been harvesting. Today we harvested a load of carrots, a load of parsnips, some kohlrabi, courgettes. What else? Beetroot. Had lots of beetroot. Wife's been busy making beetroot soup, and we have had a huge roasted vegetable medley with our roast chicken this evening. Absolutely delicious and great. It's all fresh and from our allotment and gardens. What else? Tomatoes. Still got plenty of tomatoes coming in, and lots of chilies also coming in. I'm really loving chilies at the moment. I've always loved chilies, to be fair, but absolutely fantastic with the chilies at the moment. I've got them in my wicking beds in the greenhouse on the allotment, and I've got to say, I've always thought chilies like to be dried out to perform better. What I've learned with these wicking beds is actually chilies seem to do so much better when their soil is just kept moist. So that's what I'm going to be doing for growing chilies in the future, keeping them in these wicking beds. If you don't know what a wicking bed is, it's some old paint cans that I've drilled a hole about 1 inch from the bottom, and that's, instead of being underneath, that basically creates a water reservoir underneath which just wicks water up through the paint can. It's worked so well, so I'm quite happy with it. So Digwell Green Fingers is saying he's been sowing winter greens, onions, lettuce, spinach, harvesting tums, tomato to make space for it all. Yeah, winter greens, actually, that's what I have been sowing. I did remember there was something, I can't remember, it was cabbage. I'm going to be sowing those, and it's a variety called Durham Early. If you're a member of the Supporting Members Club, you would have heard me do this on one of the podcasts. And that's gone out into the shed where they're going to hopefully grow on, and then we'll prick those out and get some lovely cabbages next April. I've got some cabbages on the allotment, actually, that I'm really looking forward to try and get hold of and eating. In fact, I think we're going to harvest a cabbage next week because it is certainly ready. Stuart Jackson is asking, any news about how I can pay you? I'm working on it. That Stuart wants to become a supporting member, but at the moment it's only set up for PayPal. I am going to be trying to figure out a way to, or I figured out a way to do it without PayPal. I've just got to pull it into action. Lee Connolly is out there and saying, evening sunshine. What's the white stuff that I get in my pumpkin plants called? So by white stuff, what I think you're talking about there, Lee, is it's I can picture it. You can treat it with milk by spraying milk over it. It's powdery mildew. You'll get there in the end. A powdery mildew, which is a really quite nasty little virus, but well, it's a mildew actually. I get it every year on my courgettes. I haven't got it this year actually, especially at home. My pumpkins are particularly grown really vigorously, but certainly I get it every year on my courgettes. It does obviously affect the plants, but it's such a common problem that I don't even worry about it and just suck it up and live with it. What else? So and Ian Beddoes. We have our first caller. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hello, it's Ed Loud. I'm calling from London. I'm a fashion symbol, sex symbol, millionaire, and occasional liar.
Well, that's the first time I've heard any of that.
How you doing, Richard?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Oh, I can't complain. Still round and squidgy.
Still round.
All good.
Yeah, my round and squidginess is starting to go down at last.
Oh, well, lucky you.
Yeah.
I seem to be losing weight but getting ever fatter, so it must be brain cells and muscle that are shrinking.
Well, I'm making no comment on that.
Yeah, probably wise.
Yeah. So what can we... Sorry. I was going to say,
carry on.
What can we do for you on this fine evening?
Yeah, just an open microphone. Thought I'd call in. You mentioned that you missed me last week, so I just thought I'd share the story. Some people might have heard on the Vogue show. Very briefly, I phoned my internet supplier many moons ago to inform them my grandfather had died and, let me take over the contract because I'm still living here. Been no problem for 6 or 7 months. I've been happily paying the bill and using my internet. I phoned up to make a small change to my contract, and they said, we haven't got a name in your account. They'd still got it in my grandfather's name, so I went through all that again. And my brother got home from work. I was away in Essex, if you'll remember. Mm-hmm. And my brother got home from work, and they'd completely cut everything off. Couldn't even make a 999 call. They thought the property was empty.
Oh,
so, hence why I wasn't on the show last week. I've sort of been trying to watch things on my data as and when I can, but that's a very limited amount because I always relied on my home phone for that kind of thing. But there you go. Hopefully someone can see the funny side of it. It probably will be worth a few chuckles in a few years' time.
Sure. Now, what worried me was the week before you rang in and we were talking about getting you growing some seeds and stuff on your windowsill. And I think you made a comment, actually, I think you said, about being able to actually afford to buy things to grow your own food, like seeds and
Yeah,
compost. Well, what was amazing about that phone call, and I don't know if you saw it, was there was an overwhelming response of people who were like, "Well, we can send you some old seeds."
that's right. Yeah, I saw that on the day of the show. I don't really use Facebook other than to watch your show, so if there was anything sort of in the group, I might have missed it. But I definitely saw a great response during the show itself, which was quite overwhelming. Which is really sort of heartwarming and something I've always liked about should I call it the gardening community, the veg growing community. I've always really sort of appreciated that people do seem to be quite free with advice and giving away stuff that they're not going to use. And I wish all walks of life were like that. It's really sort of heartwarming when people go out of their way like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's the great thing about gardeners and, well, not just gardeners, well, allotmenteers particularly. You always get the odd person who's a bit of an arsehole, but on a whole, most of us will help each other out. And I think that's something that gets overlooked when we talk about the benefits of allotments quite often, is just how much of a community spirit.
The social benefits. I think they're the number one benefit, really, because the social benefits, the mental health benefits. It's very, very much, from my opinion, the number one thing. Especially being sort of shut up in my flat. Nothing sort of warms my heart more than going into a green space or seeing someone grow something, being able to join in and muck in and help in my own sort of fumbly amateur way. It really does sort of cheer me up. And when I'm down in the dumps, that really picks me up. A friend of mine has an allotment, and he's a bit of an amateur himself, but he's got the resources to sort of kickstart things, and he's gradually learning, and it's kind of a nice experience when I get to go down there, definitely.
Yeah.
But the windowsill project is coming on leaps and bounds in my head at the moment. I'm currently doing a lot of research to find out what I can do on my windowsill, and just plugging away at that whenever I can get hold of the internet. And I've also worked out my budget for November. The project should get kick-started, so I expect in November to be buying a few things to, pots to put on my windowsill, and seeing what I can get growing in there. So I'm not going to have a lot of money to spend on it, but you don't need a lot of money. Once you've got a few tools and you're set up, it's just basically the seeds, a bit of water, some compost now and then. So I don't know, probably have about £10 or £15 to spend on it. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it'll get me kick-started on my windowsill, so I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to see how you get on with that, because you have been a bit of a project of mine to get you just growing in that small space you have.
Brilliant. Well, I do love to make people think. By the way, if anyone thinks I sound a bit out or down today, I've just got a bit of a problem with my throat, nothing serious. So I'm still nice and loud, just my voice sounds a bit off according to most people. I didn't notice it myself, but I had a bit of an acid reflux, and it's like burnt all the inside of my throat, but apparently it's making me sound a bit funny, but never mind. Serves me right. Too many fizzy drinks the other day.
yeah. Worse stuff for you.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry to hear about the quail. I only just caught that bit of the show, and then I saw the thing about Lee, what's the white stuff on my pumpkin? I was tempted to say it's whipped cream, but I didn't go there.
No, it's not pumpkin pie. It's actually on the plant itself.
No, it's a shame, isn't it? See, I'm always thinking with my belly, Richard.
Yeah. Aren't we all? That's why we grow our own.
I better let you get on with the show anyway, but yes, if anyone's missing me or wondering where I am, I'm still here. I normally have to watch back later, so... Yeah.
All right.
I might miss the rest of the show, but yeah, have a great show, and I will watch back tonight.
Great, lovely. Thank you very much.
Bye, Richard.
Cheers, Ed. Take care. There we go. That was Ed Loud, in case you didn't know, who missed him last week. Normally one of the best contributors, or not the best, sorry, that's a very bad use of word, one of the contributors to the show. Quite a few comments. YouTube is working well from Steve. Bill and Vale's allotments are there. Hello to you. Mike Stevens, hello to you. Who's also saying hello to Ed. Going back to Lee's comment about powdery mildew. Digwell Greenfingers has said a powdery mildew 10% milk solution works, as I said. So just add I don't know, a cup of milk, sorry, to 10 cups of water, and spray that over your pumpkin plants, and it should get rid of powdery mildew. We have another caller coming in. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Sean James Cameron from London.
Hello, Sean. How you doing?
What's the weather like down there? It's boiling.
It's roasting down here. It's very hot. Very, very hot today.
I'm sweating cobs, as they say.
Sweating cobs. I've never heard that saying, but I'll take your I'll take your word for it. Is that a Welsh saying?
Yes. Well, I'm not sure. Sweating cobs, but I don't know what cobs are.
Well, I always think of sweet corn as cobs.
It might be.
Oh well. Interesting. I'm sure you've not called in to say you're sweating cobs.
No, I just thought I'd phone in to say hello.
Hello to you too. I should just say to everyone watching out there, that's 7 o'clock when we finish this show. Sean is going live on his... are you on Facebook or YouTube for your live show, Sean?
It's on Facebook and YouTube, but the best place to go is the gardeningpodcast.com, and all the details are on there.
Fantastic. There you go. So that's what to do when we finish. What have you been up to on your allotment over this weekend, Sean?
Basically, just doing the weeding. And
Right.
it's been quite nice just to sit down and do the weeding without any filming or anything. And I've started to see the enjoyment in just doing that at the moment.
Yeah, this is a weird one to explain to people who don't film this stuff. The filming makes a job, I always say, last 10 times longer.
Yeah.
Something as simple as weeding becomes a real chore when you have to film it.
But it was quite nice just to sit there, pull up the weeds, and then an hour had gone by before I'd even had time to blink.
Yeah, I found that too. At the moment, are you finding all you seem to do is weeding?
Well, I don't tend to weed at all. But when I say weeding, my type of weeding is you see a bit of grass and you just pull it. Whereas this weekend I've been doing proper weeding, where you put a small fork in and you lift the soil and you actually get the roots out.
Yeah.
Proper weeding, but I just can't get over this heat. My what you call them? Watermelons have suddenly just shot into growth over the last few days, so I might actually get a decent harvest.
Oh, really? I've been trying for years to grow watermelon, and the biggest watermelon I've ever got was about the size of a marble.
Well, it's been sat there for about 4 months, hasn't done a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And literally in the last week, it's just become really big. And my squash, that's sat there for 3 or 4 months with 2 little squashes on. And now in the last week, it's started to spread, and I've got 6 on there today.
Oh, wow.
So I think this, I think the weather we had in August possibly sort of stopped everything. And now that we've had this sunshine, so hopefully it'll go on for a few weeks, but not too hot.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm slightly busy at the moment, as you can gather.
Yes, I'm sure you're getting ready to go live.
There's always one piece of information that you haven't got. So I'm just waiting on an email to be sent to me.
Oh, okay.
But hopefully everything will go according to plan, and we'll get you on in a few weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah, that'd be great. Cool.
So I will speak. I'll speak to you soon.
Yep. Have a good one. Cheers, Sean.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. There we go. Sean James Cameron, our second caller this evening. So let's quickly see what's going on. Mike Stevens is asking if cob nuts is where the sweat in your cobs, or whatever he said, is coming from. And Digwell is saying hi to Bill and Val. Now, Mike Stevens has just said, anyone know how to prepare a bare open soil for wildflowers preparation? I was thinking of leaving it for the winter, but I've heard couch grass will grow with vengeance at the moment. It's all lawn. Right, my understanding with wildflowers, and it does depend on the variety, they prefer quite poor soils, pretty low in nutrients. So what people, or I've had recommended to do, is actually sow turnips into the soil, and they should take out any of the nutrients into the soil and make it better for wildflowers to grow. Now, when I've sown wildflowers in my garden at home before, didn't have a huge amount of success, to be honest, but I'm on a very hard clay, and I think, if I remember right, Mike's on a hard clay as well. And I just found that the clay just stuck together and capped itself, that the seeds couldn't germinate. So it might be a case of trying to get a real raked soil. But we'll leave that out there and see if anybody else has any advice on how to prepare bare open soil for wild flowers. Right, let's have a look at the Facebook comments. How big should I let my celeriac get to before harvesting? Thanks. Well, when I harvested my celeriac, I only got it to about the size of, say, a tennis ball roughly, and then I harvested it, and I was happy with that. But sometimes, especially the ones that didn't get quite as good growth, they were a bit smaller than that. They were fine. And even if they get a bit bigger, but you don't want them to get too much bigger, of course, because they might go woody. But a bit bigger than a tennis ball, it should be good. I found that I harvested my celeriac in December, which, if I remember right, is about the right time to harvest celeriac. Lee Connolly is saying, are you telling me after our 24-hour show, Ed Loud has not grown anything yet? And Ed Loud has replied to that and saying, sadly not, long story, I won't bore you with it all. Got a tenner a month to throw at it from November. So there we go. Ed Loud, from November, we'll be spending a £10 a month on Grow Your Own. So it'll be a lot of fun and seeing how he gets on. Mike Stevens, so you wouldn't put organic manure on the soil, Richard? Not as I understand. I'm just going to have a look. I've got some wildflower seeds just here. Well, these are beneficial flowers for pollinators. Let's say ideal time to sow these is in the autumn between September and November. Where to sow? Sunny or lightly shaded position, any type of soil as long as there's adequate drainage. Prepare the ground. Make sure the area is ready for sowing by clearing away any stones and weeds. Lightly dig over the ground to loosen the soil and rake over. So it doesn't say it, that particular variety doesn't say anything about adding organic matter in at all, which is what I thought. Now, Stuart Jackson, who does a lot of flowers, who grows a lot of flowers, is saying that wildflowers sow in pots first, then to plant the flowers out as plugs and sow them now, which actually isn't a bad idea. And I did do that when I sowed some wildflowers. I got a tray and I sowed wildflowers into that, and then I slid that tray into the ground where I wanted them to grow. Let's see, any more comments? No. Right. So, I have got a news article. So let's go to the news. So this week's news, I have found in the Daily Mirror, a flower delivery service, Flume, is now selling grow your own garnish plants. You can choose from kits which include Bacardi rum, Grey Goose vodka and Bombay Sapphire to bring the cocktail experience into your own home for £45 each. £45, I think that's quite a lot of money if you ask me. Now it feels like we've said goodbye to the summer and the darker nights are rolling in. Staying in again is becoming the new going out. That said, to make sure your housemates, family and friends still have the same experience when it comes to creating cocktails, Bacardi Drinks have partnered with artisan florist Flume to create 3 grow your own garnish kits. So the idea here is you grow these garnish kits, and it could be. Let's have a look. Let's see if it says. Each kit will feature 2 fully grown seasonal plants such as rosemary, mint, basil, and edible flowers, and will be paired with a 35 centilitre bottle of your choice, either Bacardi, Bombay Sapphire, or Grey Goose, and accompanied by recipes. The partnership comes at a time where people are embracing at-home life with newfound hobbies and outdoor entertaining. And studies have shown since lockdown there's been a rise in at-home gardening. Well, we know that, don't we? Where houseplants have become more important element for home environment and well-being. Shifts in types of leisure activities such as rise at home in bartending. So what it's basically saying is for 45 quid, you might get a nice bottle of vodka or whatever it is, and a few plants to grow to create some cocktails. Not a bad idea. I like the idea. I've got to say I like the idea, but I don't drink alcohol, so it's going to be a bit wasted on me. So not really my type of thing. It might be yours, but even then, £45. I've got rosemary growing already. I've got basil. I've got edible flowers. I've got pretty much every herb they mentioned there. So all I've got to do is go down to the shop and buy a bottle of vodka and find a cocktail recipe online, which I'm sure there's plenty out there to do, and just use that instead of spending 45 quid. I think that's probably a cheaper way to go about it. What's your thoughts on that? Because I personally think it's a great idea, and it's probably more geared at those who aren't as frugal and have a bit more money to spend than us. So there's a quick look back at the comments. Mike Stevens saying part of the wildflower plan is a chamomile lawn section. Has anyone tried or has had one, please? Yes, Mike, I have had a chamomile lawn, and it worked. I had it on my old allotment, and because I didn't have much space, I had half a plot that I shared with somebody else. I was very much of the view that everything had to be edible, and I had to make as much use of the space as I could, which is why I came up with a chamomile lawn. I thought I'll grow this lawn, and that'll give me the flowers to pick and make chamomile tea, which I discovered to be disgusting afterwards, but as well as being able to walk on it. Now, chamomile lawn, you can't walk on it every day. It needs a bit of time to really repair itself after walking. It's for light traffic only. Apart from that, it was pretty successful. It did grow a bit like a weed, which that's great, and it didn't need much maintenance, just a bit of watering from time to time. Pretty cool, actually. Oh, we have a caller. So let's go to this and we'll come back. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hi, it's Andrew calling in Croatia.
Hello, Andrew. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I just wanted to comment on this outrageous price for a bottle of vodka and a few herbs. I mean, it's really designed for people who have got no imagination whatsoever. I mean, what does it cost to buy a few herbs, basil or rosemary, and just have them on your windowsill? I'm amazed, really, that there are people out there who are willing to pay that price.
I know.
But anyway, some people have too much money.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the same as well. £45. It seems to me a bit more like a gimmick, but I'm wondering if it's targeting at those who don't actually know what they're doing, or they just got into it and just starting to grow their own, and perhaps it's just a way of getting their interest, shall we say, something a bit random.
Well, yes, perhaps random, but really, I mean, there's so many gardening programs and books. What does it take for people just to do a little bit of reading? Not much, and all the recipes are online. I can guarantee you that. I'm sure they are. Yes. I just wanted to go back to Mike Stevens' inquiry about the wildflowers. This was a packet of seeds that I sent him, and we've corresponded a little bit. I mean, I don't have any experience of growing them because they all just grow wild on our meadows. And as you say, the soil quality is quite poor, and I think they thrive on that.
Yeah.
But he could try one technique which Richard had on one of his films about the wildflower meadow, where they cut the grass and they just dispatched all the grass to whoever wanted to create the wildflower meadow. So what he could perhaps do is just, as you say, lightly rake the soil, clear it, put the seeds down, and maybe cover it with straw and grass just to kind of keep the moisture in.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's
I mean, this is what was on Richard's video, and I thought that was a very good idea.
Yeah. So you mean prepare the soil, scatter your seed over, then just cover that over with a bit of straw.
Yes, I mean, try and keep the soil, a little bit moist.
Yeah.
Water it every now and then, but rather than actually planting them, I think one should just copy what nature does.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
Possible, yeah.
I've got to admit, when I tried growing my wildflowers, and I'm going to be doing it again actually, but I did have more success when I sowed them in a pot and then transplanted those.
Right. Yes.
But
Yeah.
I have a lot of birds in my garden, not just the chickens, but birds fly in, and we can sit there and watch them all day, and I think they may eat a lot of the seeds as well.
Sure.
Whereas a straw might be enough to keep the birds off.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you could perhaps put a fleece over it, just until they perhaps establish themselves a bit.
Yeah.
That would also help keep the moisture in. Put the fleece over the grass, the straw.
Yeah, that's a good idea as well.
I sent out to 10 people packets of seeds which I collected. So I'm interested to see how each person does. So I know Mike has published a few pictures where he donated them to the wildlife garden where he has a hand in.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see how people do, how people manage, and what success they have.
Yeah.
So if anyone listening, apart from Mike, to whom I've sent seeds, do keep me posted.
Yes. Keep Andrew posted if you've got any wildflower seeds and how they are growing. I'll be interested to find out as well.
Yeah. Sure. All righty.
Okay.
Just wanted to put in my 2 pence worth.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much, Andrew. It's lovely to hear you
Oh,
again.
you're welcome, Richard. Yes, yeah. Okay. I'll carry on listening now.
Cheers. Take care.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Bye.
There we go. Andrew Norris all the way from Croatia calling in. Wow. Very, very popular on the phones, and we're only halfway through already. So, what has Mike said? Part of the wildflower. Oh, Cameron said that. Dig well. Now, this is going back to the cocktail flowers. Stuff that. Rum, pineapple juice, OJ, and coconut milk. Obviously, a type of cocktail. It actually sounds quite nice, I've got to say. And I think Mike Stevens also said, I don't drink alcohol either, and the separate herbs seem a better and cheaper idea. Yeah, I think so too. I know quite a few people and supermarkets have been selling like boxes of herbs for that very reason, as being a cocktail package. In fact, it was even on a TV program that we spoke about back in May. I can't remember what it's called now, but it had Alan Titchmarsh on it, and they were making some of those on there. But I agree, £45 just seems a bit too steep for me. Allotment Life is saying hi all, hello to you. So, back on the Facebook, this is a lot of comments coming in on both YouTube and Facebook. Ian Beddoes, might get to cut the lawn tomorrow. Have to do it twice as it's so long to do a high cut, then reduce the height and do it again. Yeah, compost material. That's all I've got to say. I've got something coming up about compost a bit later on, actually. Stuart Jackson is saying a Richard Suggett drinks range coming soon. If you head to the veggrowerpodcast.co.uk, you will find some recipes on there. Richard Vobes is saying, evening all, hello Andrew, and clever stuff, and he has scattered all his seeds around, Andrew, just so you know. Hello to you. Right, I've got a few photos that have been going up in the group and been sent to me. Should we have a look at those? Let's take a look at the photos that have been sent to me or posted in the Facebook group this week. Firstly, Matthew posted this photo of his latest haul from the allotment. In case you're wondering, that's not Matthew in this photo. Ian Beddoes over the last few weeks has been asking why his tomatoes are not turning red. Well, this week they have begun to turn red, as we can see in this photo. However, unfortunately, he has also had some turn brown and is asking what is going on. Personally, it looks to me like blight has infected his tomatoes, but what do you think? Ian McGorgan has been sharing photos of his pumpkin that is getting bigger and bigger by the day. It certainly looks very impressive. Ian has been using a method that I recommend for growing his pumpkin in a compost heap. Stephen Ticehurst has got an early start on the allotment after visiting a local stable to collect some manure, which was then spread over his plot. He then went on to sow some seeds from the Supporters Members Club. Now, Stephen has appeared on the podcast many times, and he also shared this photo of a rather snug looking carrot. I absolutely love this photo, and it's a great glimpse just what's going on under the ground. The fantastic Stuart Jackson is loving this veg gardening hobby, and he shared this photo of what I believe to be kohlrabi. What is great is seeing how Stuart has truly embraced the veg garden this year. And finally, Lee Connolly has sent me a few photos. First, we have this collection of peppers, tomatoes and mint, all of which have been picked from his garden and we can see on the screen right now. Now, this is his growing space, opting for some rather colourful raised beds, which certainly beats the boring standard wood. And here we can see Lee working in his garden. Usually a fair weather gardener, but this year he is trying to grow all year round. Now, what a great collection of photos this week. Please keep them coming. You can post your photo in our Facebook group or on the forum at theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk, or send them to me via email at richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. What a great selection of photos. I absolutely love that photo of the carrot in the ground from Stephen. I absolutely love that. It's one I'm stealing, I'm afraid to say, Stephen, because I can see that being so useful. Right, Mike Stephen is asking, it's great getting all these questions coming in, by the way. Do you put your weeds in the compost or in the rubbish? And by rubbish, he means the garden waste collection. Well, I actually shred all mine up either through the garden shredder or run it over in a lawnmower and then throw it all into the compost heap. I don't put anything in the garden waste collection. We don't actually get it. I think we've got to pay for it here, and I can't be bothered. Anything that is diseased, obviously you can't throw that into the compost bin. I burn that. But on a whole, everything goes into compost. Now, by rights, I know we shouldn't do that. The chances are things like couch grass, those little roots of the couch grass can regrow from the bits in the compost bins, or any seeds that are in that compost material can regrow. So what I found is that because I chop all my compost up really nice by the lawnmower, get it all nice and small, and it gets very, 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 very hot, and I mean incredibly hot, that I found it doesn't really let any of those survive the composting process. And if you keep on top of it and keep turning it over, it seems to do okay. Also found that particularly when it comes to getting the roots out by sieving the soil or sieving the compost that we when we're going to use it, remove any of those remove any of those weed roots, particularly the couch grass, and then put that back in the compost heap. Couch grass roots can actually be composted. It just takes a couple of years to really get it down, but in the end, it is a compost material. And I'm of the strong belief that, as you hear me say this a bit in a video I got coming up in a few minutes. I'll tell you what. Should we play this video now, as we're seeming to be on this conversation? Well, one of the most important things I think as gardeners we need is to produce compost. It's great for the garden, it's recycling, and more importantly, it's a free material. If done right, that is. So the dilemma I always have is that I never seem to be able to produce quite enough compost. I chop everything down as small as I can get it. I add plenty of greens and plenty of browns to get the mixtures quite right, be it grass clippings or wood chippings, wood shavings. The mixture is always quite right, and I can actually produce a really good compost pretty quickly. But in order to produce more, what I figured I need to do is find out how I can produce compost more and more faster. And that's where this tool comes into play. So what this is a compost aerator. I've seen people who have used one of these who claim that they're able to produce compost in 6 weeks by using it. Now how it works is we simply stab this into the compost, which then works its way down, and that creates air foam, and then as we pull it back up, let me bring that up to show you a bit better. As we bring it back up, those two bits fall out there, and they just help mix the compost nicely. So I think it should make a much better compost, and I'm trying this out in my compost bins at home just to see how much faster we can get our compost producing and just see what happens. It's not actually quite expensive. This cost me under £15 from Amazon, so I don't think it's a bad price, but ultimately the result is going to be in how well it works, which we'll find out and keep reporting back. Yeah, it was just under £15 for that tool, and I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't even know if it's going to be any use. I've just used it a few times this week. Sort of seems to do what it says it does. We'll keep using it and find out. But I put everything in the compost bins unless it's diseased. Allotment Live has said that he puts a tip is to pot couch grass roots in a plastic bag, and they will eventually rot down. Which is actually pretty much the thing. If a plant can if roots can't pot out any leaves and can't photosynthesize, they're going to die. So yeah, we'll find out what happens. A few comments coming in on Facebook as well. I knew Richard Vobes was a policeman, as he just said evening all. Lee Connolly saying woo after seeing his photo in that little video. Ian, my neighbour has just ordered a council bin and paid over £100 for the licence and the bin. I put worms in my bin and then I empty the bin and pop the worms back. Yeah, I've got a wormery as well, which I put all my kitchen waste into, and that seems to work really, really well. And we don't actually throw even kitchen waste out in the bin. We're lucky if we fill a rubbish bin up every week. So I do actually think getting a wormery and compost bin it's brilliant. It's the way forward. It's recycling and it doesn't waste anything. I know hot bins. I've had hot bin on the podcast before, and they're meant to be pretty good for composting quickly as well. Sean Cameron is wondering if those tools work, or he actually says, I've always wondered if they work, and I'm going to be interested to see if they work. I've got to admit, I've found when I lift it up, those two spikes that are meant to go like that don't always open up. So we'll have to see if it does actually make it much faster. But I have seen people out there who swear by them, so we'll see. Julia's out there. She's late to the party, but she's here. Hello, Julia. Lovely to see you. And Ian is saying it will definitely get air in the bin, which, yeah, it certainly will get air in the bin. And Steve on YouTube. Use the moisture of that rotting down to make root tea. I do similar with bindweed roots. Pot in a closed bucket and use the liquid it produces as a feed. I've never actually tried that with couch grass roots actually. So, but that's I'm sure it will work. And Mike Stevens is saying, Mr. Vobes read an extract from a book telling us how important earthworms are. I guess an angling shop is the best place to buy them. Well, an angling shop will actually sell worms that are obviously best for angling, but some of the worms they sell are the red wigglers or brandling worms, which are best for in use in wormeries and composts. Your standard earthworms don't actually do much in terms of composting material. But you also find these worms, if you pile up a load of horse manure and let it rot down and dig through that, you will find a load of these worms. You can also buy them online, which I happened to see somebody do on a live show just the other day. By the way, if you want to call in, it's 07307 135 174. We've had quite a few phone calls, and it's always great to get more phone calls and add more to this comment. Stuart Jackson, I have a compost stirrer. I would say it's okay. So similar to, I think it's similar to what I've just been demonstrating on that video that I've started using. Just mixes up that compost, which is going to add air, moisture, produce faster compost. That's the idea. Got to find out if it works. Ian Beddoes is asking if Lee has got his worms yet. So Lee, over to you. Have you got your worms yet? Let us know. What was next? What was next? I had something there and I've forgotten it. Oh, going back to before I was interrupted, not interrupted, that's the wrong word. Before I was talking about this £45 from this selection of herbs for making your own cocktails, which I think is just a ridiculous price. Let's have a look. Go to a garden centre. A rosemary plant is probably $2.99 on average, I reckon. You can sometimes get them cheaper, sometimes more, but $2.99 I see is about the average price. In fact, all those herbs that were listed were about $2.99. So let's say £3 each, and let's say you get all four of those, plus a bottle of vodka. How much is a bottle of vodka these days? That's not going to be up at 30 quid. Is it? I don't know. I think it's a bit of a rip-off, if you ask me. Now, Mike Stevens is asking, is that tool you used called a composter tool or some such name? It's called a Compost Aerator. I haven't got the link to add at the moment. But keep your eye out and I will publish it on a video on YouTube with a link to it on Amazon. It's where I get mine from. Most of my stuff comes from Amazon these days, dare I say it. I know that's a lot of people who don't like Amazon, but I've got to say I have a better experience for it than anywhere else. Don't buy my plants from Amazon, actually. Has anyone bought plants from Amazon? I've bought seeds. I've bought garden tools. I've never bought compost from Amazon because I think it's overpriced on there. But plants I've never bought from Amazon. Has anyone else? And do they actually sell them? Allotment Life. You can probably get your herbs for free from fellow plot holders. I do agree with that. Yes, you can probably get your herbs for free from fellow plot holders or from somebody who's also a king gardener. Normally quite happy to give you a cut in. The trouble with that is you've got to be a gardener in the first instance or know somebody who's into gardening, and I think people who are particularly this year just got into gardening and didn't know where to get herbs and that sort of thing from, is probably something that's going to appeal to them more than anything, because most of the work is done for them. They haven't got to go and select the herbs that are needed. They haven't got to go searching for recipes to find out what herbs to buy. It's all going to be there. Ian is saying support your local garden centre. I agree and I disagree. The reason I disagree sometimes is that I feel my local garden centre, I've got several near me, but my closest garden centre, it should be working, Lee. My phone line is on. I think it's your phone again. Sorry, Lee's just put a comment saying the phone line isn't working. It's on. Yeah, my local garden centre is full of tat. And at the moment, this is driving me mad. Here we go. I could see that coming. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Yourself?
Yeah, for some reason it wouldn't work there.
That happened when I called you the other day on your live show. Kept going to a voicemail.
That's a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, I wonder if it's too much equipment. So for everyone
Maybe.
watching, it's Lee Connolly, aka Skinny Jean Gardener, on the phone from Essex.
What's going on, my friend?
Oh, not much. Just chatting about this cocktail kit that I found in the news this week. Did you see that?
Cocktail kit? What do you mean?
So £45 from a company that sells alcohol or produces vodka, Blue Bombay Sapphire, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And they send you out a bottle of vodka and a collection of herbs to grow to
Right.
make your own cocktails. So it could be rosemary, thyme, basil, edible flowers. £45 seems a bit too expensive to me.
It's a bit much, isn't it?
I think so.
Maybe you could do the same, mate, with your seeds. Maybe you could send us like a bottle of whiskey or something to go with them.
Yeah, I don't drink, so what would be? I wouldn't know what's good or not.
No, I don't anymore. I'm dry, so it's pretty pointless.
Yeah.
Oh dear, mate. Great show tonight, dude.
Oh, thank you. It's going well. It's going very well. It's interesting going on YouTube and Facebook at the same time and seeing the difference in comments that are coming in. So, for example, Allotment Live has just said you can probably get your herbs from free from. I've read that one. If a non-gardener was to approach me for herbs, I'd oblige if I had what they wanted, and I think most gardeners would do that.
Definitely, dude. Definitely. Friendly bunch.
We are sometimes.
Sometimes. I tell you what, actually, it's keeping on the same track as alcohol and stuff.
Yeah.
Sort of. I don't know if I've mentioned or asked you on the show anyway about these grapes that I've got growing,
Right. Yeah.
that they're not really doing a lot. And I'm wondering if I need to put them in a bigger pot or something.
What? Let me get my words out. You bought these recently. Were they in a pot and you put them into a bigger pot, or what happened?
Yeah, they're in a little pot.
Right.
Then I put them into a big barrel thing,
Okay.
and now they're not doing anything. In fact, they're looking pretty sad.
Okay. I have noticed, especially around here, leaves are starting to drop on trees as we're going into autumn. So they might be being affected by that. But what I've also found, particularly with grapes, or my grapes I've got in the garden as well, they seem to sulk when you first plant them out into something big. When they're in that pot, their roots are kind of confined to that space, and all of a sudden, you give them much more space to spread out. They sort of don't know what to do. So probably the energy is going into the roots and putting down its roots into that pot.
So are these grapes like expected the leaves to drop over winter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's all right then.
Yeah. Mine certainly are.
I was a bit worried, mate. It doesn't really feel like we're going into autumn, though, is it? I don't know what it's been like down in LA where you are, mate, but it's been sweating here this weekend.
Yeah, it's been warm here. I was down on the allotment today, and as you probably saw in that video, which actually that was at home, I was sweating. I was sweating, covered in sweat, and it's been really warm.
It's crazy, isn't it? Don't really feel like it is autumn now, isn't it?
We're in autumn.
Is autumn.
Yeah, we're in autumn.
I don't feel like I'm still in shorts.
Yeah, soon be winter. But weirdly, the weather all throughout this year has been weird, I think.
We always mention this, so we always seem to end our calls on being weird weather, mate. See you later.
It has been though. It has been weird weather.
Might mean that our growing season lasts a little bit longer.
It might do, and we might have to adjust when we put things in the garden, into the ground. Sorry.
I believe so, mate.
Talking of which, Allotment Life is saying that grapes are best off in the open ground.
I ain't got no open ground to put them in. That's the problem.
That's the same.
So do I need to put more soil? Then do I need a bigger pot or something? Do you reckon?
I think leave them as they are for now until you're ready to put them in the open ground. We'll post some photos or send me some photos and I'll have a look.
I'll send some photos for next week's show, mate, and then everyone can make their judgment of them.
Yeah. Stuart Jackson is saying, Lee, potting on, don't make too big of a jump. The plant will not like my moving into a pot that's too big.
That's a good point, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
Could be a bit of shock, like what the heck's going on.
Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty certain that is what's going on. because mine are doing exactly the same. And mine will go in the open ground, but they're just in a pot until I can get the ground. Well, I've got to take down a shed first, but they're going cheap, so I bought them.
Well, yeah, check you out, mate.
Yeah.
Cheap grapes.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
All right. Well, Digwell Green Fingers has also said it's a trying year's weather for us growers this year. So we may always talk about the weather, but it's an important part of our growing.
So it's a Chinese weather, did you say?
A trying year's weather.
Oh, trying. I thought you said Chinese. I was like,
no,
I don't know what the weather's like over there.
Having trouble with my words tonight for some reason again.
Maybe I just fancy Chinese.
Don't say that. I've had my dinner already. Oh, now you've given me a craving for Chinese.
Oh dear, mate. Well, thanks anyway, mate, and I'll send you a picture for next week's show.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Cheers, man.
Nice one, dude.
Nice one.
Great show.
Take care. Cheers, buddy.
Bye, fella.
Bye. Yeah, so that was Lee Connolly and grapes, which seems to be an in thing to be planting at the moment. Ian is also saying grapes are delicious. I can't get that word out tonight. And Ian Meadows, do grapes need tying up or do they cling onto strings themselves like peas? I've always tied my grapes in, but they do have little tentacles to hold themselves in as well. But I just like to, I'm quite loose, but I just like to add a bit more in the way of string just to hold them into place. I saw a comment that was on YouTube. Mike Stevens, did you say edible flowers? I thought it was the seeds that were edible of most plants. Well, edible flowers, there's quite a few flowers that are edible. And Andrew Norris has already suggested nasturtiums, which are actually really nice peppery taste. The flowers and the leaves are both edible on those. There's quite a list of edible flowers. Dahlias. They were originally imported. The root, the tuber on the bottom, was considered the edibles. Well, it still is edible if you grow dahlias, and they were actually imported for being edible. And then they became, well, people like the look of them. So that's an edible flower. I believe the flowers on tulips are even edible as well, and violas, they are edible too. There's a hell of a lot of edible flowers which I'd like to grow in my garden some as well, just to add more edible areas. I've got hostas, which aren't a flower as such, but hostas are edible. Violas are edible, as Digwell is just said. Well, that's what I thought. A couple of people saying YouTube is better for live streaming. The quality's better and it works better. Well, there you go. I've always done on Facebook. I was a bit nervous about going on YouTube, but I don't know why I won't it now. Yeah. And allotment life. If you buy these expensive herbs, make sure you pay for them, or they send the bailiffs round. Bailiffs in for the money. There's a good choice of a good joke. Ian is also saying that word judicious that I can't seem to get out my mouth tonight means they lose their leaves, which of course we know. Right, well, I am going to start wrapping up for tonight because it is 1 minute to 7. I don't want to interrupt Sean's major launch tonight. So thank you so much for watching. It's been lovely to see you all. Lovely to chat. Thank you for the phone calls. We'll be back again next Sunday, 6 p.m. and we'll be doing it all again. So until then, please take care. On the podcast on Monday, the audio podcast, I'm going to be talking about how I grow shallots and onions. And, oh, yeah, I've got a few more things in the pipeline to come on out. So until next time, please take care. I'll see you all again.